Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Nayanam namaskritya naham charva navottamam devim sarasvatim yasam tato chaya mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan, which is the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto the author Srila Vyasadeva. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from the third canto. It's called the Status Quo. And we are reading from the second chapter, and it's entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. We are on text 6. Let's do one at a time. Sanskrit word. Shanake, Bhagavat, Lokat, Nilokam, Puna Agata, Vimrijya, Netre, Viduram, Pritya, Udava, Utsmayam, Shanakir Bhagavalokan, Vilokam Punar Agataha, Vimritya Netre Viduram, Pritya Odava Utsmayan, Shanakir Bhagavad Lokan, Vilokam Punar Agataha, Vimritya Netre Viduram, Pritya Odavam Utsmayan, Shanakir Bhagavad Lokan, Vilokam Punam Agataha, Vimritya Netre Viduram, Pritya Odava Utsmayan,
Shanakir Bhagavalokan, Vilokam Punar Agataha, Vimrijya Netre Viduram, Pritya Odava Utsmayan, Shanakir Bhagavalokan,
Nilokam Punam Agataha, Vimrajya Netre Viduram,
Pritya Odava Utsmayan,
Shanakir Bhagavalokan, Nilokam Punar Agataha, Vimrija netre viduram. Pritya odava utsmayam. Shanakir Bhagavalokan. Nilokam punam agataha. Vimrija viduram. Pritya odava utsmayam. Someone online would like to chant the verse?
Shanakir Bhagavalokan
Shanakir Bhagavalokan.
Nirlokam Punaragata
Nilokam puna agata.
Vimrijane Treviduram
Vimrija netre viduram.
Pritya Udava Utsmayan
Pritya odava utsmayam.
Shanakar Bhagavalokan
Shanakir Bhagavalokan.
Nrilokam Punar Agata
Nilokam punam agataha.
Vimrija Netra Viduram
Vimrija netre viduram.
Pritya Hodava Utsmayan
Pritya udava utsmayam. Okay. Word for word translation. Shanakar, gradually. Bhagavat, the Lord. Lokat, from the above. Nilokam, the planet of the human beings. Punam agata, coming again. Vimrija, weeping. Is he wiping?
It says wiping.
Okay, wiping. Netre, eyes. Viduham, and to viduha. Pritya, in affection. Said. Udava, Utsmayan, by all those remembrances. Translation. The great devotee Uddhava soon came back from the above of the Lord to the human plane, and weeping his eyes, he awakened his reminiscence of the past and spoke to Vidura in a pleasing mood. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. When Uddhava was fully absorbed in the transcendental ecstasy of love of God, he actually forgot all about the external world. The pure devotee lives constantly in above of the Supreme Lord, even in a present body, which apparently belongs to this world. The pure devotee is not exactly on the bodily plane, since he is absorbed in a transcendental thought of the Supreme. When Uddhava wanted to speak to Vidura, he came down from the above of the Lord, Dwarka, to the material plane of human beings. Even so, a pure devotee is present in this mortal planet. He is here in relation to the Lord for engagement in transcendental loving service and not for any material cause. A living entity can live either a living entity can live either on the material plane or in a transcendental abode of the Lord in accordance with his existential condition. The conditional changes of the living entities are explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the instruction given to Srila Rupa Goswami by Lord Sri Chaitanya. Quote, the living entities all over the universes are enjoying the effect of the respective fruitive result of their own work, life after life. Out of all of them, some may be influenced by the association of pure devotees, and thus get the chance to execute devotional service by attainment of test. This test is a seed of devotional service, and one who is fortunate enough to have received such a seed is advised to sow it in the core of his heart. As one cultivates the seed by pouring water to fructify it, the seed of devotional service sown in the heart of the devotee may be cultured by pouring water in a form of hearing and chanting of the holy name and pastime of the Lord. The creeper of devotional service, so nourished, gradually grows, and the devotee, acting as a gardener, goes on pouring the water of constant hearing and chanting. The creeper of devotional service gradually grows so high that it passes through the entire material universe and enters into the spiritual sky, growing still higher and higher until it reaches the planet called Loka Vrindavan. The devotee gardener is in touch with the abode of the Lord even from the material plane by dint of performing devotional service to the Lord simply by hearing and chanting. As a creeper takes shelter of another stronger tree, similarly, the creeper of devotional service nourished by the devotee takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and thus become fixed. When the creeper is fixed, then the fruit of the creeper come into existence, and the gardener who nourished it is able to enjoy the fruit of love, and his life becomes successful. That Uddhava attained this stage is evident from his dealings. He could simultaneously reach the supreme planet and still appear in this world. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Chalachalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Shapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Datati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupa Sagajatam Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Takta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyacha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvesesha Shunyavadi Pasyacha Dejatarine. I'm going to read the translation of the verse again. The great devotee Uddhava soon came back from the above of the Lord to the human plane, and, weeping his eyes, he awakened his reminiscence of the past and spoke to Vidura in a pleasing mood. Hare Krishna. I feel very, very honored to read this verse and to read the purport and to be here and sharing what's happening for me in regard to this verse and purport. It's very, very special. And so here we are staying with Uddhava. And Uddhava, he has been asked question by Vidura. And as Vidura was asking question, his anxiety was increasing, Uddhava's anxiety. And so we can see, oh, he was on anxiety, didn't know what to respond. You know, sometimes we have anxiety because we don't know what to say. So, wow, what if I'm stupid? Or what if I don't say the right thing? Or what if I don't know? But that's not this kind of anxiety that Uddhava was experiencing. Uddhava was experiencing anxiety of like containing himself. Because as he was hearing the question of Vidura was like an impetus. It was triggered, like we are always triggered. I'm triggered so much by so many things in the material world. So many emotions come. Unfortunately, all those emotions are material emotions. They are just due to material attachment, material desire, material entanglement, and conditioning. That's what I experience as trigger. However, a pure devotee, what's triggered is his love of Krishna, his ability to, as soon as he hears a name of Krishna, as soon as he hears some pastime, as soon as he hears anything about Krishna, is love and is triggered. And when the love is triggered, then the devotee is in anxiety because he doesn't know if he is going to be able to contain himself. Because the internal energy of the Lord, the spiritual energy, the transcendental energy is very, very difficult to contain for a pure devotee. So Uddhava was in great anxiety. And then when it was his time to speak, he couldn't speak. He couldn't speak because it was too big. It was too big. And then he couldn't speak also because he was so fully absorbed in remembering of the Lord. So much so that the part of him that's always connected with the Lord was completely present. And he was in the spiritual world, while his form, the form of a pure devotee, is not material. It's a spiritual form, the spiritual form of Uddhava, while his spiritual form was still visible to our eyes, to the eyes of Vidura, on this earthly plane, on the human plane, like Prabhupada said, the human plane. That's where it's quite plain, in fact. and so that's what was happening for Uddhava. He was like, he heard and he couldn't contain, and then it disconnected. You know, like some people sometimes they speak about disassociation, but that's material. There's nothing special about disassociation. Some people are very like, oh, I disassociate. Oh, yeah, you disassociate. For some people, it's a real problem, but some people seems to be very proud of it. So I don't know, because it's just like, okay, you disconnect from your body because you're suffering too much, and then you become a ghost. Okay. So, but that's not what's happening to Uddhava. That's not at all what's happening for Uddhava. Uddhava here is just his full consciousness is so absorbed in the Lord that that's where he is. And Srila Prabhupada in Dwarka, he said he was in Dwarka. So Uddhava was 100% in Dwarkapuri, in the spiritual world. There is, you know, like there is a Vrindavan. The original Vrindavan is in the spiritual world, and then there is a replica of Vrindavan in the material world. Similarly, there is Dwarka in the spiritual world, where the Lord, you know, is Dwarkadish. There is no more Krishna, is Dwarkadish. And then the replica is Dwarka, you know, like when Krishna. But at that time, Krishna is not manifesting anymore. It's pastime in Dwarka. So we understand that Uddhava is fully absorbed in the pastime of the Lord in the spiritual world. So he is fully in the spiritual world while also having a spiritual form still on a human plane, on this plane of existence. And so Srila Prabhupada in his purport, he speaks about a pure devotee of the Lord. And I was thinking, Srila Prabhupada, you're speaking about yourself. Only a pure devotee can know, only one who knows one, know one. What's the expression in English? There's an expression.
Takes one to know one.
Yeah, it takes one to know one. Exactly. That's what I was looking for. So there is an expression in English, it takes one to know one. So that's when I was reading the purport, I was saying, oh, Prabhupada takes one to know one. Because he goes so much in details of the experience of a pure devotee, because he knows that experience, because it's his experience. And I was thinking like that Srila Prabhupada's his service for our benefit was to contain, probably was a lot of work for him to contain himself, to not lose connection and disconnect from this material plane, to disconnect from the material energy, to disconnect from his external consciousness. And it was probably taking a lot of work for him. And sometime Srila Prabhupada will go in samadhi, will go in a place where devotees around him had the sense that he was not on this plane anymore. His consciousness was fully absorbed with the Lord. And some of those times, the most common times that was happening is while Srila Prabhupada was singing Jai Radha Madhava. So I was thinking about that. It's like, for a pure devotee, Jai Madhava is not a song. It's not something that we sing. It's not even words. It's a full experience. It's a full experience. It's a full experience when where the pure devotee is there. Is like Jai Radha Madhava Kunja is with the Lord, giving pleasure to Srimati Radharani in a bush of Vrindavan. That's where he is when he sings Jai Radha Madhava or hear it. Where is fully feeling how Krishna is giving pleasure to the gopis, Gopi Jana Vallabha. It's like giving pleasure to the gopis. The lifter of Govardhan is fully absorbed in that pastime, being with Krishna, lifting Govardhan Hill, and fully like with Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, having such a bliss being with Krishna. This is not a song for a pure devotee. And all that is real. It's a reality. And Srila Prabhupada told us that this song is a window to the spiritual world. Because for him, he was on the other side of the window. And as we are in this side and we sing it, maybe we sing it with some knowledge of the lyrics, or maybe not even. Of course, it's purifying. Everything on a transcendental platform is absolute. So we sing Jai Radha Madhava. If we know what that means, if we don't know what that means, every word is transcendentally absolute and carry the meaning of the word. It carries the energy of that word, the consciousness of that word. So we are being purified by singing, and that's why Prabhupada wanted us to sing it once a day. Once a day we sing Jai Radha Madhava. Such a simple song, anyone can learn it. And then by singing it, and meditating on the meaning. Yesterday, in fact, so much of the class today and the verse is about our reading. We have a group of committed Vaishnavis. Everyone in that group have taken a vow of initiation, a vow of chanting 16 rounds, a vow of following the Four Agate Principle. So we have a group like that, and we read Nectar of Devotion together. And in that, yesterday we read about the devotees constantly meditating on the form of the Lord. And Prabhupada said, it doesn't matter if the form of the Lord is a two-arm form or the four-arm form, but like that. So we had a discussion coming that, well, I don't meditate on the Lord. We had a discussion coming up with that. And we look at different ways that Srila Prabhupada engaged us in service, because we are not capable of remembering the Lord. However, to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are engaged in service. We are engaged in singing Jai Radha Madhava, which is a full meditation. So the pure devotee and Srila Prabhupada, yes, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivada Yashodanandana Vajrajananjana. Vajrajananjana was the part that I think sometimes he will even put it somewhere else in the song. He will mix up, like when we hear he's singing, he just don't have the line together. So someone could say, oh, it's just old man. But that's not what it is. It's his ecstasy. You cannot contain it. So who cares about the order of the words in the song? Because Vajrajananjana means something to him. It means that he sees the pleasure of all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and he is in that pleasure with them, and that's what he is there. And so I was thinking, okay, so we have an opportunity every day we chant Krishna's name. So it's the same for a pure devotee. Every time you say Krishna, it's Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna. It's Radharani, Ram, Balaram, like that. And I was thinking of the Panchatattva, how special it is for a pure devotee. When a pure devotee chants the Panchatattva, he directly associates with Lord Chaitanya, directly associates with Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivas Thakur, directly. There is no distinction. Is there with them, and Srila Prabhupada is there with them. So I was thinking, yeah, for us it's something similar. Like if I speak, let's say I have a lot of affection for my grandpa. Yeah, I had a fun grandpa. It was not my grandpa, it was my step grandpa, but I had a fun grandpa for just a few years. I didn't really have grandparents, but for a few years I had a very fun grandpa, and it was fun. Why? Because I was his favorite grandchild. So that's why it was so fun. It wasn't fun for my brother. My brother really didn't like him. But for me, it was really fun. And so if I speak about my grandpa, I smile. My grandpa's energy comes back. I am with my grandpa. I remember like how he would joke with me. It's just like a full experience. It's not simply grandpa, 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 grandpa. It's not like that. It's not like that. So through that, of course, it's a replica. We can understand. We can understand even on this human plane. Like when we say the name of someone, maybe we say the name of someone we don't like or someone we like, but we have an experience. So the pure devotee, he has an experience every time. So I imagine for Srila Prabhupada, it was extremely difficult. And his anxiety must have been so heightened in speaking about Krishna, hearing Krishna's name. And of course, Yoga Maya and the energy of the Lord are there to help the pure devotee to do his service, because the pure devotee doesn't want to be disturbed by, the ecstasy, the experience of the ecstasy, and to his prayer and his desires, the Lord also helps the pure devotee. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada described that part from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so special. About the gardener. And what I like to start with is this verse somehow, it led me to remember some reading we had maybe a year ago. And on Monday, we were reading The Light of the Bhagavata. And I don't know, like this book is not very famous or not very known, and it's extremely beautiful. It's a beautiful book with pictures. And this book, Prabhupada wrote it. It's expansion on the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, and it's a chapter that's description of autumn. So there is the verse from that part. However, Srila Prabhupada, it's quite different than what he gave us in the Krishna book. But so I'm showing it to you. This particular copy was sent to me by Bhaktin Kelly. So thank you, Bhaktin Kelly, because I didn't have a copy. I don't know if you have a copy here of The Light of Bhagavatam.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't have a copy, and I share that. I share that. Sorry. Cameras. I shared that during the reading that I didn't have a copy. So back to Kelly, remember that.
The video is not working well.
It's very blurry, and I'm not sure how, because I put something close, so the autofocus is not working. I don't know what to do. Try again, one more time. Successful.
Did it?
I did it. So, yes, thank you, Bhakti Kelly. And I want to read, because the Lord and the devotees, so we speak about the devotee external consciousness, which Uddhava just is trying to bring himself back down to external consciousness. And then there is internal consciousness. And we also see there is the internal world, the internal energy of the Lord, and the external energy of the Lord. And there is a connection with all those internal and external. And so I will read something from the Light of the Bhagavata. It's so beautiful, such a beautiful book, such a beautiful aesthetic book. I just want to show it. You came to some of the reading, did you? I don't remember. Anyway, that's it's chapter 7. And okay, to give you a sense of the Light of the Bhagavata, I'm going to read the verse, but really where I want to go is the purport, but give you a sense of the poetry. And it's all about nature. So if you know someone who loves nature and you want to help them in their Krishna consciousness, this is a book that could really relate to them, because it's such a beautiful poetry or description of nature. And then Prabhupada each time take whatever, of nature, and then he brings the philosophy. Anyway, so to give you an idea, I will just read the verse, even so the verse doesn't really connect with what we are speaking about today, but just to give you a taste of the book. The small rivulets that almost dried up during the months of May and June now begins to overflow their banks, like upstarts that suddenly overflow the limit of expenditures. So it's all about rivulets and nature and rainy season and what's happened after the rainy season. So here is the purpose. One should learn gravity from the sea and the rivulet. So gravity. So that gravity allows us to develop our internal lives. And many times, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the relationship with Krishna. And he says it's very intimate. So we are not going to find intimacy with Krishna outside of us so easily. The pure devotee can do that. And so Prabhupada is guiding us to go to gravity, which is that intimate relationship is something to develop internally. The sea is always within its limit, in spite of the many rivers pouring water into it. Similarly, one should properly use the asset of life and not squander them for the purpose to have no permanent value. Uncontrolled sensuous person play with the asset of the body and accumulate wealth. But the strength of the body should be used for self-realization, not for sense gratification. A human being have two kinds of temperaments. Some are introspective and the others are extravagant. And I don't think there's many places where Srila Prabhupada used that word introspective. So it's so there's two kinds of temperament. One is introspective and the other is extravagant. So we can see in us, where I am introspective and where I am extravagant. Those who are extravagant are enamored of the external features of the phenomenal beauty and have no insight into the whole manifestation. They are practically asleep to introspection. Again, that word that Prabhupada used. They are asleep to introspection, and thus they are unable to derive any permanent value from the asset of the human form of body. But one who has developed introspection is as grave as the sea, while those who are extravagant are calm and quiet in sleep. Such a grave person uses the full advantage of the human form of life. So the gravity of the devotee is there described, and to tap into the internal life. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to go to another chapter. And there it's really interesting what Srila Prabhupada shared. I'm not going to share the verse, it's about the rainy season, or maybe I should. After the rainy season, the farmers begin to rebuild the partitioning walls of the paddy fields so that the water will be conserved, just as yogi try to use their conserved energy for self-realization. So it says the living being is a marginal energy of the absolute personality of Goddess. So Tadaksha Shakti, that's who we are. That Tadaksha Shakti is like marginal. It can spend its conserved energy either externally or internally. So that conserved energy, we have energy, we can spend it externally or internally. When spent internally, so when that conserved energy is spent internally, the energy is identified with the internal energy of the personality of Godhead. I'm going to repeat that. When spent internally, when we spend that conserved energy internally, the energy is identified with the internal energy of the personality of Godhead. The same conserved energy when spent in his external energy is identified with that external energy. So if we spend energy out, then we identified with that. Wherever we put our consciousness, that's what grows. And if we spend that energy internally, then we connect and we are identifying with the internal energy of the Lord, which is quite fascinating and something that's accessible to us if we choose to. All energy, internal, external, and marginal, are emanations from Him, the Supreme, and they act differently to prove diversity in unity. The unity is the Lord, and the energy represents diversity. The love is so powerful that He can do anything and everything merely by His sweet will alone. As mentioned above, everything is done by His energies in a natural way, with full knowledge and complete perfection. That is the information we have from all Vedic literature. So I just wanted to give you some text of that book, because Prabhupada turned to present the philosophy in a very unique way. He was going to Japan. He was invited to preach in Japan, and he wrote this book, and that book came out for his I don't know why, Krishna's inspiration, that Srila Prabhupada manifested this book in connection with his Japan preaching. And it's quite unique. Also, the book we quoted this morning, Each Journey to Higher Planet, is also very, very unique. So if you have read already the Bhagavad Gita, or the Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Nectar of Devotion, the Nectar of Instruction, or the basic book, then I encourage you to go there. So Uddhava, come back to Uddhava, Srila Prabhupada, pure devotee. What do they have? They have love of God. That's what Srila Prabhupada described. Does Uddhava attend this stage? Is evident in his dealing. So that Srila Prabhupada attends this stage is also evident in his dealing. Like there is no doubt in Srila Prabhupada's behavior, in his dealing with everyone. Everyone he knew how to meet people where they are at and to give them the medicine in the right way. So Srila Prabhupada and Uddhava, they are experiencing Prema Bhakti, which is pure love of Krishna. And then in his purport, Srila Prabhupada kind of bring us the teaching of Lord Chaitanya to Srila Rupa Goswami. Yesterday I was sharing at the beginning of Nectar of Devotion reading, I was sharing how all the knowledge of the Nectar of Devotion, you can find it other places. One place you can find it is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in chapter 19 of Madhya Lila, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving teaching to Srila Rupa Goswami. And the parts that Srila Prabhupada included in his purport, that's where it is from. Also, the teaching of Lord Chaitanya, it's the teaching of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami still, it's the same essential knowledge that you can also find them. So if you read all those different places, then it helps comprehend more the content of each of them, like that. So I'm going to read, and I'm going to read directly from the Chaitanya Charitamrita because it's always fun. And life is about fun, isn't it? So I'm going to start with Madhya Lila, chapter 19, text 150. And it's not quoted in the purport of Srila Prabhupada, but we are going to go there just because it gives us a better understanding. Oh, great sage, so Lord Chaitanya is speaking. Out of many millions of materially liberated people who are free from ignorance, and out of many millions of siddhas who have nearly attained perfection, there is hardly one pure devotee of Narayan. So even among those who are free from the material energy, who are siddhas, who are completely perfection, all the mystic yoga, hardly one is a pure devotee of Narayan. Only such a devotee is actually completely satisfied and peaceful. So only, by becoming a pure devotee of the Lord can be satisfied and peaceful. And we were speaking about peace last night with Bhaktin Kesi. So only pure devotional service. And what's pure devotional service? Then that's the first verse of the Nectar of Devotion. Anya Bilasitaskiyam, Jnana Karma Anavritam, Anu Kulinya Krishna Nu Shilanam Bhakti Uttama. Bhakti Uttama is Uttama Bhakti, the highest Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti. It's free. It's free from, Jnana Yoga is free from any yoga, any mysticism yoga, anything, any karma, any action. It's free from all that. And it's completely 100% favorable to the Lord, with the Lord on the objective. And then the next verse is a very, very famous verse, very quoted by Srila Prabhupada. I quoted it a few times in my classes too. Pamanta Brahmitikona Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prashadepai Bhakti Lata Beach. That's a very famous verse to speak about the Bhakti Lata Beach. What a beach? A beach is a seed. A beach is a seed. So it speaks about the Bhakti Lata beach, the seed of devotional service. And I'm going to read the translation. It's so full. According to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate to get an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. So that Bhakti Lata beach, we all have received it from a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. All our ability to chant Hare Krishna, our ability to be here, practice devotional service, our ability to read those books is just due to the association with the pure devotee. Without the association with the pure devotee, there will be no not such an activities in our life. Because we have encountered the pure devotee, we have received the seed of bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada gave often an example about that, and the example is Narada Muni. Narada Muni was a little boy, 5-year-old. And, you know, in a Vedic time, you can imagine, he was the son of a maid servant and he didn't have a father. So that's the lowest of the lowest of the lowest. It's not even on the chart, because to not know who's your father, you know, in a Vedic time, and to be, you know, he was the son of a maid servant, you know, Shura. She was engaged in an inn, in some kind of inn. And during the rainy season, which is a lot of Bhagavata is about the rainy season, during the rainy season, sages will stop for the Chaturmasya, the 4 months of the rainy season. The sages, they stop in one place and they just absorb themselves in hearing and chanting. That's all they do, hear, chant, hear, chant. And so they stop at the inn where Narada Muni's mother was working. He was 5-year-old. And because of that, Narada Muni got the opportunity to serve the pure devotee, the Bhakti Vedanta, in fact. They are called all Bhakti Vedantas. Prabhupada calls them like that. So he got the opportunity to serve them, he got the opportunity to hear from them, and he got the opportunity to take their remnants. And because of that, and it says there is, I wrote something Srila Prabhupada said. Anyway, was in a purport, Srila Prabhupada speak about how, because of the desire of the Bhakti Vedantas, because of their prayer and desire of the Bhakti Vedantas, then Narada Muni became a pure devotee. So we are not going to be on our own. We need the mercy of the pure devotee. By the mercy of the pure devotee, we get Krishna. By the mercy of Krishna, we get the pure devotee. So, you know, like that. So Narada Muni, because of that, because his association with the pure Bhakti Vedanta, he got that seed, Bhakti Lata Bij. And so getting the seed is not enough. And I'm not going to read other verses, unfortunately, because time. And so I'm going to paraphrase those verses. So getting the seed, when we get the seed, we need to plant it in the core of our heart. He said in this, quoted in a purport here, and in Chaitanya Charitamrita. We need to take that seed and very carefully plant it into the core of our heart. But that's not enough. It's planted now. We need to become a gardener. We become a gardener. What does that mean, gardening? We have gardener here. I know Kelly is a good gardener. So Bhakti, spiritual life, Bhakti yoga, Kelly, it's all about gardening. And that's it. So we plant that seed in the core of our heart. And then what do we do after we plant a seed? We water it, isn't it? We want the seed to sprout. Like in our house, we sprout things all the time. And the thing we need to do is put water and it sprouts. But that's not enough, because when that little sprouts come out, we have a responsibility. It's a huge responsibility. The biggest responsibility we'll ever have, to take care of that sprout. Take care of that sprout by continuing hearing and chanting, watering it with our hearing and chanting. And also take care of that sprout by making sure the soil is fertile, that we keep the soil fertile. And we keep the soil fertile by making sure that no other creeper grow. It's a Prabhupada maker. He said like the Karma Yoga Beach or the Jnana Yoga Beach. So many bija. There is other seeds there in our heart that we may cultivate, because it feels good to cultivate that seed. I get name, fame, recognition. I get to have follower. I get to be cool. I get so many things. There is so many perk in cultivating those other seeds. And through our hearing and chanting, we can do that. We can do that. We can increase our pride. We can increase our greed. We can come to a place where we are so imbued with our own selves that we don't offer respect to everyone, which is a qualification to constantly water the creeper. And then, so our responsibility is to like be very, very careful to handle that creeper, to handle that sprout and that creeper very, very carefully. And in order to do that, we need to really cultivate that gravity, that internal life, and not Krishna, 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 you know, like, that's not going to serve us. It's just not, because that's not what that of course, it's going to serve us. That's not true. It's absolute. So whatever round we chant, if they're attentive, if they're not attentive, it's absolute. If we chant Radha Madhava and we think about something else, it's absolute. It's all absolute, of course. However, if we are serious to be one out of those millions of people who get liberation, to be the one who really have the creeper of bhakti growing. And here is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that plant has the power to grow and to grow and to grow to all the different layers of the material energy, to all the different, and that plant, like creeper, Srila Prabhupada said, creeper have a tendency to get to a tree, like we see always creepers, they're around trees or fence, or they're attached to something. And that creeper is never going to attach to anything material. That creeper is not going to attach or grow based on something material. And so if we water it and we are not expecting it to attach to something material, then the creeper will continue to grow up to the Viraj river. V means like abstraction, and Raj means Raja, passion, passion, ignorance, like the mode of material nature. So the Viraj river is a spiritual place, is a causal ocean, really. The causal ocean, the cause, like where all the ingredients of the matter take place. And so that creeper can go and pass the Viraj river and enter into the Parivyoma, the spiritual sky. And if we continue to water it, that creeper is going to land on the lotus feet of Krishna. So that's available for us. And in order to do that, we need to be an expert gardener. Srila Prabhupada tells us, Lord Chaitanya is giving that analogy of watering the creeper, watering the beach, making grow, protecting the beach, putting the weed, and the biggest weed, the mud elephant that can destroy that thing, that little creeper, the mud elephant that can destroy, it's offenses to the pure devotee. Offenses to the guru and the pure devotee is going to completely destroy. And then we will need to wait for many, many cycles of birth and death up and down everywhere in the material existence. So gardening, and that will be our meditation for today. To gardening, knowing that in order to garden and really protect that creeper, we need to become grave, like Srila Prabhupada, like Prabhupada says, ocean, like the ocean is still. There is some wave, but the ocean doesn't mind the waves. The waves are coming and going, and the ocean is still. At the bottom of the ocean is always still. Nothing moves. And to consciously water that creeper, protect that creeper, and take it like this is our most cherished activity. My most cherished activity is to be a gardener. See, Kelly? We can do that. Hare Krishna. So I'm going to read the verse again. And if you want to read the full description of the watering of the Bhaktilata beach, the pulling the weed, and all that, it's Madhya Lila chapter 19, and it starts at 151, text 151. And I wanted to read it, and those classes are always too short. I don't know why. Hare Krishna. So I'm going to read the verse again. Shanaker Bhagava Lokan Vilokan Puna Agataha Vimritya Netre Viduram Pritya Odava Utsmayan. The great devotee Uddhava soon came back to the above from the above of the Lord to the human plane, and wiping his eyes, he awakened his reminiscence of the past and spoke to Vidura in a pleasing mood. Hare Krishna, thank you for being here today with us. And is there any comment, question? There is a chat, so I'm going to look at what the chat says. Jai, get it. You said Jai, I imagine about gardening. Any comment, question about gardening? Yeah.
That it's like, it sounds like a metaphor, you know, the garden of the heart and the Bhaktivedanta beach. At the same time, everything in like the Vedic literature seems there's like a personality to it. There's like a realness to it. So it's not just a metaphor. So that there actually is a plant, a creeper that's growing to the spiritual world. Like there's a reality there, right?
And all like it's a nice question. I really like your question because it's described so precisely,
Right.
like and so many times. Like even in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is other places where it's described, and the tree of bhakti and the fruit. Like when we develop the creeper, it goes to the lotus feet of Krishna, and then the fruits come, and all the fruits are love of God. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one part, and like, yeah, so I imagine, I would expect there's like some real reality there, spiritual reality, and there's also like personhood within that. It's a personal thing, it's not just, you know, whatever. So there's personality there. And then how do we understand the, like the Krishna consciousness is our original consciousness, and like it's our original state, original consciousness, and then like that we need to, how do we reconcile that, understand that with the that we need to get the seed, the Bhaktivedanta beach from the spiritual master.
Okay. Thank you for your question. For your question, it's a very important question.
But also where my mind goes also is like because like okay, we're talking about a metaphor, but then I imagine that there's reality to it. So okay, the seed, and so the heart, the soul is like the soul is in the heart, and that's like the soil, and then we're receiving the seed into the soul, and I'm just trying to understand like all this, you know,
Yeah.
and so what's there in the soul? We lose the seed, and then we get the seed back. You know, like that's where my mind.
You're being deeply introspective. You're being very deeply introspective of how do I relate to the Bhaktivedanta beach? How do I relate that the seed is given by the spiritual master? How do I relate that love of God is eternally established in the heart? How do I relate, if it's eternally established in your heart, how can it be destroyed by the mad elephant offenses? So how to reconcile all those different aspects of Bhakti Yoga, and those questions are very nicely responded by Srila Prabhupada, of course. And I appreciate what you said, because at the core is personalism. That's what it is. It's personalism. Like when we say Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya, it is Lord Chaitanya. It's, you know, when we say Bhaktivedanta beach, it is like Bhaktivedanta beach. It's a beach. So at the core is personalism. So I'm just going to read part of the purport to that verse about the Bhaktivedanta beach, because Prabhupada kind of addressed your question. So he gives the example of that Narada Muni, and then Following in the footsteps of Narada Muni, this Krishna consciousness movement is rendering service to humanity by giving everyone a chance to come in contact with Krishna. So Prabhupada's movement, give everyone a chance, because when we come in contact with Srila Prabhupada's movement, we come in contact with Srila Prabhupada. And that's really important to understand that. It's like we come in contact with Srila Prabhupada's movement, and then it's a vacuum or something, like I need something else and that. No, it's complete. There is no difference between Prabhupada's movement and Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said it here. So when we come in contact to a temple president, to a seminar, we come in contact with Srila Prabhupada's movement through so many ways, receiving a book, reading a book, hearing the mantra, because some people take the austerity going in the street. This is Srila Prabhupada's movement. This is Srila Prabhupada directly. Those people who hear the holy name of the Lord in the street or in the seminar or wherever, they are getting in contact directly with Srila Prabhupada. They are directly in contact with the pure devotee. And that seed is planted by the pure devotee. And again, we need to put it inside our heart. You know, I got in contact with the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. The first time, I think I was 11 years old, I didn't plant it in my heart. I just continued to be extravagant. So I continue. So in contact with the movement. Then by the grace of Krishna, once life becomes successful, everyone has dormant Krishna Bhakti, love of Krishna. And in the association of good devotee, that love is revealed. So in a sense, you know, it's like there is the concept here, it's received the Bhakti, but it's also revealed the Bhakti. So it's the same purport. Srila Prabhupada speaks about Narada Muni receiving the seed of Bhakti from the Bhakti Vedanta. And that's why he goes in the same paragraph, in the next paragraph. He speaks about it's revealed by the association of the pure devotee. So the analogy is a seed, and also that seed, that love of God is eternally established in the heart. And so because it's established in the heart, it's revealed by the pure devotees. So it's one, you know, one and the same and difference at the same time. I can continue because he quoted that verse. So, and in the association of good devotees, so he said good devotees, doesn't even say pure, like that love is revealed. So we come to contact with the movement of Srila Prabhupada, the pure devotee, and in association with pure devotee, with good devotees, then that's what love is revealed. So Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabudai Shravanadi Sudashite Karya Udai. Dormant devotional service to Krishna is within everyone, simply by association with devotees, hearing their good instruction and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Dormant love for Krishna is awakened. In this way, one acquires the seed of devotional service. Guru Krishna Prashadepai Bhakti Lauta page.
Dormant and it's reawakened. And by that, we receive the seed.
Exactly. That's what Srila Prabhupada shares.
Yeah. Simultaneous oneness.
Exactly. Achintya Bela Bela Tattva. Yeah. Yes.
I don't think I have a question.
Yes.
Feeling really like frantic with all the things I've committed to. And I was looking for like, what do I do about that? You know, like, do I have to cut something out? Like, what do I have to do? And I feel like I've received the answer here in being brave, like cultivating more of like an internal, quiet, still consciousness, and to stretch that through, you know, just more hours of being focused of doing, but cultivating more of that, of like the being that I want, no matter what's going on around me.
Yeah. So the
Mommy?
kind of gave you the response. Yes.
I was almost impossible to hear the question. Do you mind just giving us a little bit before
Okay.
process? Thank
Yes,
you.
I will reflect to Casey. So Casey I've been in a question because she have a lot on her plate. She has so many directions that pull her, so many responsibilities, so many big projects, including organizing foundational course and advanced course in Miami, and so many other. And she have felt frantic. She have felt frazzled and frantic about them. And she was seeking a response from Krishna, from Srila Prabhupada, what to do about that. And through listening to the class, Casey, you're sharing that you're coming to a place of like, yeah, I want to develop that internal connection and come from within out instead of out and not connecting from within. And in a movie of gravity, being brave. And often, Dear Govinda quotes about Martin Luther. Martin Luther, he said, like, if I didn't pray at least 3 hours every day, I would not be able to do anything. And I can relate to that myself. Like, if I didn't chant, 16 rounds, or if I didn't complete my round properly, or the number of rounds I want to complete or read, then I'm just bumping into my day. But if my devotional sadhana is really solid and I've done everything that I want to do in my sadhana, then my day just flows. It's so easy. It's effortless, and things happen, and so much get accomplished too. Way more than I would have accomplished without spending those hours in sadhana. And I noticed that in my life again and again and again and again, and I forget again and again and again and again. So we are here to remind each other. We are here to remind each other. Yes. Yes.
I also appreciated very much these points about like internal, external focus. And now you said like when we put out energy, the attachment develops. That really like highlighted so much for me. Like I was often thinking like, what creates like my horse? Like why is my horse like so great and others I don't really care? And it's the energy. Like I had a realization about it long time ago. That's really like, okay, I might get a new horse and it's completely like foreign to me, and I have no relationship, affection, attachment whatsoever. But then like by like putting my money, my time, my work, attachment, like, but at the point that you made it, like you can like focus the energy internally, that's like completely new for me. Of course, I have been like somewhat doing it, but to think this way that like the attachment can develop the same way, that's anyway, that was great point for me to hear. And I want to say one more thing. When we were speaking about the names, like how Srila Prabhupada, when he sings Jai Radha Madhava, it all comes alive. And we have the glimpse of experience in the material world, like speaking about people we know, like that. So yesterday we had a Bhagavad Gita reading group with the Czech seminar graduates. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada was like saying, like the pure devotees, like Brahma, Narada, Shukadev Goswami, Janaka, Prahlad Maharaj, Yamaraj, like and few others. And I was like reading these names and I was really feeling like something. That's really nice. And I remember like when I read Bhagavad Gita for the first time, it was just like a list of like some weird names. And it was really like, I even want to skip reading it. Mm-hmm. And so I made a comment because I knew that's probably how most of the people in the group felt. And they were like, yeah, that's exactly how we feel.
Yeah, you felt affection. It's people, they are part of your life now. You know who's Prahlad Maharaj, and you have affection for Prahlad Maharaj and his story, and Yamaraj and all those people. They are like your family members a little bit. And the first time you read it, it's stranger, like your other authors are stranger.
Right. Yes. So it was nice to like,
yeah, it's so
personal experience of reading the list of the names. Mm-hmm. I even remember which names he said.
Yeah, it's easier to remember when it's person, like, okay, here at the program there is Nico and Casey and Dear Govinda and Pampa and Ladini, like, okay, I don't need to put a lot of effort to remember that because I know all of you. But if I didn't know you when you were all strangers, it would put so much effort to just remember the name of 5 people. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. I want to share that since I read that purport from the light of the Bhagavata, I have done some practice to transform external consciousness into internal. And you know, one principle that helped me is like Stephen Covey's principle, like the circle of influence and the circle of concern. So that's one, you know, like wherever, if we put our energy in a circle of concern, then we are more and more concerned, and a circle of influence they kind of shrink. And then if we put our energy,
I completely didn't get it.
okay, I will repeat. And if we put our energy in our circle of influence, what we can change, what we can do, then that grows too. So that principle, like I was applying that principle to that purport in the light of the Bhagavata, the principle of like there is 2 circles to our consciousness, the circle of concern and the circle of influence. Circle of concern is all the things that have nothing to do with us, like, oh, it's such a bad weather today, or that person shouldn't be doing this thing, or the emotional attachment to expectation. Basically, we can put them on that category. Circle of concern is things that we are concerning ourselves, that's not our business. Like Byron Katie says, it's like, there is my business, there is other business, and then there is God business. Let's not confuse them. So that's the circle of concern. And then the circle of influence, that thinks that we have the power. We have power in our hand to influence in our own life, or maybe even in the world. And so Stephen Covey describes that principle that whatever we feed, if we feel the circle of concern increase, and then the circle of influence decrease. And if we feed the circle of influence, then the opposite is true. Our circle of influence increase and our circle of concern shrinks. So I was thinking of that, and I was thinking about internal and external. And really, the first thing I did is noticing when my consciousness, my thoughts, my being is absorbed in external consciousness, which I will, for this example, will equate to circle of concern. And then so noticing that, just noticing that already a great step to just be aware. Oh, I'm really, really absorbing external energy right now. And then how to change it to the internal was like question mark, because how to be grave with it, and I found that the process of devotional service that is the most useful for my experiences in devotional service is Vandanam. Vandanam is one of the 9 processes of devotional service is prayer. So if any concern that we may have or any absorption in external energy, I found that I can turn it around in a prayer, and in that prayerful mood, connect with the internal energy of the Lord and my internal energy and the internal energy of the Lord. So I just wanted to share. It's just a personal experience. Yes.
Thanks for sharing that knowledge. Yeah, that for me relates to something that really stood out to me. Yes. You're talking about the Bhaktivedantas that described in the first canto in the Testament of Narada Muni when he was the Sudra boy, and you emphasized, and that kind of impacted me, that Prabhupada says the Bhaktivedantas desired that this boy will take to Krishna consciousness. So essentially, that's like they deeply prayed for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they deeply prayed for it, and so yes, like, you know, we don't want to imitate those realized Bhaktivedantas, including Bhaktivedanta Swami. At the same time, we're encouraged to follow the basic principle. And so, of course, starting with we don't want to like like, I want to save the whole world. It's like, I look at myself. Okay, we don't want to do that as an escape from myself. And at the same time, you know, we can cultivate an increasingly intense desire that others in our sphere will embrace this most sublime process of bhakti yoga, of Krishna consciousness. We don't want to like imitate, we don't want to do that as an escape from looking at my own weeds in the gardening process, but following in the spirit of the Bhaktivedantas and Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, you know, we're encouraged to cultivate an increasingly intense prayerful desire that those in our sphere, that they take to self-realization, they come to commitment for Krishna consciousness. So just what you shared now about prayer, and that for me connected with a part of your class that really impacted me. Prabhupada says the Bhaktivedantas desired.
Yeah, like to come to a place of desiring pure devotional service as it will affect the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I will read to you exactly what Srila Prabhupada says it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It said, by serving them, so Narada Muni, by serving the Bhaktivedantas and obeying their orders, the boy became the object of sympathy for the Vaishnavas. And by the Vaishnava unknown mercy, I love that. By the Vaishnava unknown mercy, he didn't know, like it's not something like they were, banking him with a Bhagavad Gita. He said, by the Vaishnava unknown mercy, he gradually became a pure devotee. It's so beautiful. So it's really what you're speaking about. It's like by the Vaishnava unknown mercy, it's like they were bestowing the mercy on that little 5-year-old boy and pouring that mercy. And by that prayer, then he became a pure devotee. Hare Krishna. Thank you for this. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I just want to say it's not like praying like that everyone becomes pure devotee, but like personal.
It's personal. Yeah. Anandini, you had your hand up. I don't know if it was a mistake or because you put
No,
it.
I wanted to just briefly share and say thank you. And as you see, I'm in my garden. It was my intention to weed out all the nettles in our flower bed today during class. So as you were speaking, so this is the pile.
Wow!
So,
Big pile. That's what we want. Big pile of weed. Yeah.
Yes, I felt very encouraged spiritually and also practically.
Yeah, and when we pull the weed in the garden, we pull the weed in the garden of our heart too.
That's
and
my hope.
If anyone needs to practice, my yard is full of weeds. I'm inviting anyone who wants to practice pulling weeds. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your big pile. That's real work.
And now it's time for
And
flowers.
yeah, interestingly, Nico today was wearing our T-shirt, water the garden of your heart. It's interesting because I never seen you wearing that T-shirt before. And today we were just directly going to the verses connected with that T-shirt. So you are in your garden pulling weed and Nico wearing that T-shirt. It means that maybe there is a God. Hare Krishna. Nice to see you all. Hare Krishna. Jai Ramachandra, nice to see you. Hare Krishna. Kantura Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.